Hello, Jenny. There, how about that? Can you hear me now? I don't hear you. And you're not muted according to the sign. There.
There we go.
Weak.
What?
There you go. Okay, that's better. It was a weak sound before.
Oh,
Not anymore. I know your voice. There's never a weak point in that voice.
all right. It looks like my headphones aren't working. I'm trying to use a set of headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can switch it over. Then I can't hear you.
Okay, should I keep
Oh, there we go.
speaking? I was just being very quiet.
I got it. I got
Good.
it. It's working now.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to let in Tim Nolan. And then I have Lisa's iPhone, Brent Bartley, and Ann Hubert.
Good. So Brent Bartley is one of the people whose projects is coming up today. I don't
Okay.
know who the other people are, but they can certainly come in.
Okay. Where did my notebook go?
Once again, it's Ann Hubert instead of Chris Rotramel. Or Rotramel, I'm not sure.
Rotramel.
Rotramel. Okay. There's Tim. No need to stand up, Tim. You can sit down. It's okay. Oh, but I'm not hearing you. No, nothing.
Nothing.
There it is. There it is.
There we
Okay,
go.
you're in. We got Tim.
I'm using my son's headset.
Okay. Does that mean it could break into gaming at any minute?
It could any minute now will be.
Yeah.
Hang on to your hats.
Yeah.
You want to put that on the table or so they just see your face?
Don't see anything.
Oh, you don't?
I blocked the video.
But we have voice. That's good.
You want to watch it till it starts or can you tell?
I don't know if they're waiting for me to.
We're actually waiting for a couple more members of the board. When we had meetings in person, in these early moments, you could visit among yourselves and tell stories and all that. It doesn't work that way anymore. I don't like Zoom so much. I like that banter that could happen.
Hear me all right, Perry?
Yes, yep, very good.
There's Kara.
Okay, good. Kara's one of the members.
Yep.
There. Hi, Kara. Oh. But can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good, good. We're still waiting for Charles and Jessica. Time moves slowly when we're waiting. I'm gonna send a reminder text to Charles. I don't have Jessica. I don't have Jessica's text information. But she's the reason we met at 4:30 instead of 4. She teaches until 4, so she had a chance or needed the chance for the 4:30 appointment.
I just sent her a text.
You did? Oh, okay, good. I've been the recipient of those texts before and it's worth it. Oh, now you can't play stupid. Oh, I forgot. In the old days, I used to carry a pager and you used to be able to make it go off beep, beep like that. And no one knew that you just made it go off for yourself. You're like beep, beep. Oh, geez, gotta go tiptoe out of the crowd, And now you have to have somebody call you. Ruined everything. we actually have a quorum. We have 3 out of 5. But I would like to give them another minute or two.
Letting Jessica in right now.
There, good. There. Hi, Jess.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. So this gives us a super majority. So I think we can start. Not that you're super, but well, maybe you are, but that's still, we're
am super.
well above the majority now. So first, I would like to just do the public hearing portion, and then we would do the, and that's about the home occupation at 28 Goodrich Street. And then the people who are done with that, then we'll move on to our regular meeting, which first should be approval of the minutes, and then we'll do the presentation about storage units on Governor Street. So that's the time frame here. And it may not take long, I don't know. So for the public hearing portion, the item that's being discussed is a proposal for a person to have an office at 28 Goodrich Street for the purpose of palmistry or future telling or something in that order. It's being done by the person who lives in that house, and that's the important part to this. So is there somebody here who's representing that proposal? Okay, Lisa, I guess.
Yes,
Yes, okay, Lisa, would you tell us your full name?
Lisa Wiggins. I'm the
Okay,
owner, but it's
the
not
owner
me.
of the house?
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
not doing business though. It's someone living with us, helping me out.
I see. Okay, so can you tell us about the business, what it's like, how he does it, etc.?
He has a website and he travels mostly to Western New York and does psychic shows. He does palm readings. He usually makes appointments with people. When some local people want to do it in person, so it would be nice if he could do it here in the home.
Mhm. I see. The the issues that we care about and the planning board is that it be something that doesn't interfere with the nature of the community, you know, noise, etc. And you may or may not have read, I don't know, the zoning law about home occupations, but home occupations require that no more than 15% of the building be used for this particular occupation, that the traffic flow be small but not negligible, and that there be places to park that are legal wherever that residence is. And so part of the issue is parking for 2 vehicles, because it's possible that you have somebody who's in a current appointment and somebody who would come after that, you know, waiting for their appointment. So that would be the issue there. Home occupations of this sort are allowed, that you can have up to 1 employee, use 15% of the building as it says, and not create a nuisance in the area. Now, what constitutes a nuisance is yet to be determined. So is there anybody who would like to speak about the any neighbors? You know, neighbors have been invited. All the people who live within 100 feet or own the property within 100 feet of this proposed project site are invited by a letter to ask you to come in and contribute to the discussion to see what you would like to do. The planning board uses this for instruction, and then we are not obligated to decide for 31 days what's going to happen, but within the 31, we certainly will.
Okay.
So Lisa, there's Charles. Charles, we just get filled in a little bit on the project at 28 Goodrich Street.
I heard
which
your
is-
and I just had my video muted and my audio muted, but I heard most of the discussion.
Okay, very good. So if Lisa, if you're finished, then I'd see if there's anybody else from that area who would like to have anything to say.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Nancy.
Okay, I'm Nancy also, 28 Goodrich Street, across the street. And I guess parking is one of the questions that I have because
Mhm.
there is no parking on the east side of Goodrich Street.
Right.
It's all designated no parking, but people park there all the time.
Oh.
But recently, the street has become a route for some of the St. Lawrence County buses. So there's often the buses on the street.
Mhm.
So to me, it's just really important. People can park on the west side. And it's just like making sure that there isn't an issue with the parking
Mhm.
is,
Yep.
is one question that I have. And the other was just trying to understand the sort of the scope of the business, the anticipation of how busy it will be. That's just something that's very hard to kind of judge.
Mhm. Lisa, would you have a indication? I understand that the business is
Sure.
in business now somewhere else in town.
He used to live out of town. It's not a big issue in terms of parking. He only ever gets one person at a time and they can park right in our driveway.
Mhm.
He might get one reading a month, possibly
see.
two. This is not a big business in terms of who will be coming and going.
Mhm. Mhm.
Most of what he does is at psychic shows in other towns.
I see. Yep. Now I'm confused about the address. Nancy said 28, but Lisa said 28.
I
Is that
said-
right?
I'm 29.
29. Okay. Okay,
Okay.
good. Then, thank you. Okay. So traffic and parking is an important thing. Is there, Barbara, are you here for
Yes.
this as well? Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
am here for this as well. I actually am the purchaser of 30 Goodrich Street. I will be the next door neighbor. Within 31 days, I will own it. Our
I saw
closing
the
is the
sign out there.
27th. Yeah, we close on the 27th. My main question is, I did have a question about the parking, but my next question is, how long is this good for? So if they leave that home, does this go with the house or is it ended? Because, yeah, I could end up with God knows what over there.
That's an excellent question. And so a home occupation is a special kind of permit that is issued to the person
Okay,
who is making the proposal. And part of our caution in writing the permit and why we take a few days more is to be sure it's written in a way that allows what we allow and prevents, as you say, somebody weaseling in with some other sort of thing that would be different.
okay.
Like making gunpowder or something that you don't want next door.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yep. So your point is very well made. And in fact, in our code, our new code, it's specific that other special permits go with the land, but for home occupation specifically, and it's been clarified very recently, it goes with the person. And and we make it as specific as we can. There are a few others around the village at this point that are limited by time. Now, sometimes it's been a time related thing, for 3 years you have this permit and then it has to be revisited, something like that.
Okay.
So we can do that. And that is the
Could we-
protection for the village.
Yeah, that would be great if we could do that, if it was a time limited and we could just revisit, it could be revisited because we don't know what's going to happen.
That's right.
We don't know, it's an unknown at this point. So, and we plan to be in that home for a very long time, so.
Good. It's a good building. I know that
It is.
house that
It
you
is.
just bought. Yeah.
I'm
It's a good
very
building.
pleased.
That's good. So Let's see, anybody else who's here for that? No, I guess that's,
Could I ask
Um,
just one more question that is
sure.
more sort of just a general question for the planning board? So, this is a very residential neighborhood. And so, so there's lots of different sort of home businesses that you can think of. I assume that this falls under the category of a service, so therefore it's not a retail sales or manufacturing. And that's why it's permitted. So once you have a home business permit in a neighborhood, does that influence you to maybe make that exception less often or more often?
Ah,
hmm,
Good question.
yes. So I would say historically, we have so few permits that, and actually, I only know of 3 others in the village right now. And far separated from each other and far different types of these permitted actions. The reason for building this in is if there's trouble. A permit can be rescinded if necessary. So that if, well, for example, we approved a person who functions as FFL, Federal Firearms Licensee. And his purpose is if somebody's buying a gun from somebody else, they have to meet at his place. He researches who they are and then allows this to happen. He has no retail sales, no nothing on his premises. He's just this representative. He doesn't even have to do it at his own house. If we found out he was selling guns or making ammunition or something there, that would be grounds to have revoked that permit right away. So that sort of thing can be watched. We had another permit that was offered and we checked with the police before we reissued it, to see if there's been any reports, checked with the neighbors, all that, just to be sure that they were towing the mark, so to speak, doing what was permitted and indeed had. We have yet to have to rescind a permit, generally because it's just a narrow band of people who can get into it and do it. It has to be small enough, 1 employee at the max. There'd be
Right.
no employees in this, if I understand it right. With 1 or 2 calls a month, I'm guessing that it's not too serious. But, and I can see what we find is that if people need to legitimize a business or it helps to legitimize a business, you have an address with a sign at your address. It gives you the sense of being a little more functional, dependable, whatever the right word might be. And so this does include a sign permit, which is 3 square feet. I understand from the application that'll be placed on the porch. So it doesn't show up much. It's so people, when they get to the house, know they're at the right place. 3 square feet is pretty small. 1.5 by 2 is a small sign. It can be stretched out kind of like the shingle that they talk about. I'll hang up my shingle. Something like a barber shop would not be allowed, I don't believe here. Would be too much traffic coming through. It's more a counseling sort of office, various personal services, although some can be. But they talk about within the code, it says there should be no noise, vibration, glare, objectionable fumes or odors, or electrical interference, things like that that would annoy a neighbor. Those are built right in not to have it. And retail sales is absolutely forbidden as part of that. Now, some little things that might go with it, if you had a little business and people needed to buy hand cream to go with it or something, yeah, you could sell that, but it's not the people would come in to buy just any products.
I do have one more question then.
Sure.
With the sign,
Mhm.
could it end up being like a lit neon sign?
No.
Oh, thank God. Okay,
No,
sorry.
no, that's right. It's just a hanging a shingle. And I think it's even prohibited, but the sign on the application, it says what the sign is. It's just printed.
Okay.
I don't remember if it's
That's
one
fine.
side or 2. If it sticks out parallel, if it's rides parallel to the building, it's one side. It could stick out at right angles.
Okay.
But it has to be, yeah, because
All right.
it is, well, the whole idea is to make a neighborhood first. And planning board is very enthusiastic about preserving the R1 and the R2 residential single family and 2 family areas. And so, yes, we do want to protect them, which is why it's a special permit as opposed to just naturally allowed. You know, there's things that are allowed in other, by right is the term that's used. And in this case, there isn't a by right, it's by special permit. Okay, so now, members of the board, have you got questions that you would ask?
I have a question. Would the home occupation permit be issued to the homeowner or to the practitioner of the business?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, well, this is what we can write because it's our own form. We'll make it up. And it should be for that person. He's residing there, so it'll specify that it's residence. Doesn't have to own it, but you can live there as a tenant, live there and practice in the same building. That would be important to have in our description or in that permit. Because yes, you don't want to now create a psychic office that others would come to use. This is the spirit of this is if you live in that house, you ought to be able to do some work in that house if it's the right kind. And so that's what I believe we will try to preserve.
I think the permit, if we grant one, should absolutely stipulate that, you know, that sort of opens up a can of worms that anybody can rent out a corner of their house to have a small business starting it. So, and I know that there was something in the old code about it being owner occupied, and I read the new one, but I just can't remember it. That's all yet.
It is. Let's see.
How does that read? Or is resident?
It is in here. The very beginning, at section B, 325-33B. I hate to go through all those things, but it's written in there. It says, home occupations provided that all persons engaged in those activities reside on the premises. So that's at the top of it for under the minor home as well as a major home occupation. This is considered a major home occupation because other people come to it. A minor is one that you might be an answering service or a transcriptionist who transcribes medical dictation into paper or something like that. But where this has the likelihood of others coming to it, then it's considered major. And that's why we have to apply or be sure to have parking. And
You read the parking
this is
code.
case.
Did you
Say it
read the
again?
part? I heard you code before, but did you read the part where it's like it can't be in front of the building? They've got to be past the building into like towards the back of the property.
That's correct. Now, it just so happens that the driveway comes in next to the house and then the garage is behind. And it's a 2-car garage. So, and the apron or whatever you would call the driveway as it widens to the full width of the 2-car garage, at least a car deep from where it widens to the garage itself. So without measuring, I believe that 2 cars can park in that parking lot. And the owner and tenant now, if this is not the owner, but he's the tenant, there's 2 spots for the people who live there to park in the garage. And that puts 2 cars behind the front edge of the building and out of the plane of that front. Believe it or not, those who aren't aware, we have a front yard parking ordinance in the village. You cannot park in front of your house. It has to be off to the side. You can't break the plane of the front of the house. And this doesn't, this puts it over to the side. And I think that those 2 parking spots are what make this doable in that spot. As opposed to the street parking would be an issue because one side is no parking at all and the other is no parking 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever it is, which is business hours. And so that really is bad. So the building has space. Now, I didn't look, Lisa, is the ramp still there? Do you still have a ramp up to the back steps?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so okay. Yep, so there's room to park even with the ramp there. There's enough room.
Yes.
I couldn't see it from the road. Okay. So is there,
All I can do is say to my neighbors, you really won't even notice.
Mhm. This is the kind of thing that is good for the village. We have some action, some activity, and if the neighbors are happy, and if they aren't, then that we know there's recourse, but there shouldn't have
Okay.
to be. So, is there any, well, actually, I would take a motion from somebody on the committee to say that we will take this under advisement and discuss it at a different time to issue the permit. And that way we'll be sure we can get the advice of our county, or sorry, village attorney to help us write this permit, because we're new at this and we don't do enough of them to get them right. And to do it on the fly is kind of risky business, but if we could, unless there's reluctance, I would ask that somebody make the motion that we take this, consider this project to issue a permit. Okay,
Move to consider.
all right, thank you, Jess. And a second. Charles is
Second.
making dinner. Okay, Kara, thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
that's what we will do. And if necessary, we can contact the neighbors again and ask more questions or anything else, and we will get to it to write a permit to see what we can do for this.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, you're okay.
you.
Thank you. Yep, very good. All right, so now I would consider that the public portion of the meeting is, not that it isn't public, but the public hearing portion is completed. And I would move to approval of the minutes. Now, I think I can put the minutes up with, oh, I can't, yeah, I can screen share. Or you can, I sent them out before. If you'd read them, I would, you can't beat it now. Everything's taped. This whole thing is on video. I don't even know why we're going to have minutes. We do. But everything is backed up with video. And this gets kept in perpetuity.
Board here right
Yeah.
now?
Say it again?
Is it just the board here right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
No, not just the board. No. Brent is here for the other application for the storage units.
I just want to make sure that we have a mechanism for making sure that we can validate that this is occupant operated, that business, whether that's like getting a lease that's attached to that property, although we probably can't demand that they have that sort of arrangement. I just want to make sure that that's properly. I don't know how we would do that, but it's something for us to think about.
Well, yeah, we'll get that in, because I do want Jerry's input on this, and he would think of that. So tenancy for sure.
Would like a piece of mail with the person's name and that address suffice? I
Okay.
know that that's kind of what they do at the DMV for
Right?
you to change your address.
Mhm. Yep, that's right. That's a good, some proof of it, some affidavit, something like that. That would be important. Another piece probably is a point at which to revisit. We gave a permit for Grace House, I think it was, to be revisited in 6 months. And then I think in another year or 2 years, something like that. We went to the cops, I went to the neighbors, I asked Conrad, everybody around the area, if there was any input to be had. And I think that we would do the same for this. Remember that Sally lives 2 houses over. She's the village clerk. And so I do know this house. I've done work in this house before, and it's ample size, ample parking, that kind of stuff.
Barry, what's the address again? 28?
28, yep. It looks like it has 2 front doors. It's a,
Also 30, right? Sally's number 30.
I think so.
And then the house, and then there's a yellow house. I just can't picture that house. It's okay. All right.
It sort of blends in. It just fades back, but they just put up a new low fence, black metal fence.
Is it a white house?
Yep.
Yeah, I know
it's white. The house next to it that was purchased just recently, I think, is apartments, at least one apartment in the back. which is R1 with an apartment. Isn't that interesting? The next door, not this one, next door. And that may have been phased out. I don't know with this new sale. I don't know. Any other items that you would think would be important to put in this? We've got tenancy for sure, some way to prove it, and then a time limit.
Definitely make sure they've got like, you're saying about that.
Psychic, really.
I would say maybe further limiting their signage, because there's not a single business sign up and down that block, Cleveland, no, there maybe is a business sign on Judson, but that block, Cleveland, Farmer, Mildon, Howe, none of those little streets have, the only business sign I can think of is Heather Gilson's on the Felician House Bed and Breakfast and her little daycare there.
Yep.
Nothing.
So we'll keep that. Tim should, there he is. He'll keep the sign down. The best is the sign that's posted on the building, that, flush to the building is the best. And I think that's what they applied for.
And we limit colors, we can limit.
Yep. 3-color sign. Yep. Yeah, we'll put things in that 3-color sign.
I would say there's like a way that we could word this, like a sign that you wouldn't see unless you're looking for it. So there's signs that are advertisements, and then there's signs that are, and so if you can sign if you want to see the sign, but you wouldn't see the sign if you're not looking for it. So however, that would be a way to guarantee that keeps everybody happy right there.
Yep. Especially the neighbor who didn't want it flashing. I'm all with her.
I heard her, and I've been thinking about how to take care of her, and I don't know. I'd be happy to hear somebody else weigh in on that. I don't know.
Yep. So I think what I would do is to make up a version of this, send it to Jerry and you folks at the same time, have everybody put input to it, and then see if we're on the right track for it.
Okay.
And then we'll see how that goes. We have, I think it's either 31 or 62 days. I forget which, but when you say 31, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. And whether you do or not, we know we're on that track. Okay, so now we can go back to the minutes. Should we approve those minutes from, I mean, so long ago, I can't remember what we did. It was just when we talked about the changes to the zoning, and that went through without a hitch. Nobody showed up at any of the 2 hearings, the public hearings. Nobody came to, well, Charles came to one of them. And then we had another one, nobody showed up. So it just went right through. And, it follows the regulations that we find in the rest of the state, et cetera. And the professionals helped us. So it sort of did fit. Now we will find out how we can make it work for people in the village. So we do need an approval of that or corrections. Yeah. Anybody willing to approve it?
Wait,
Charles?
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
go
a little
ahead.
unclear on one of the points in the minutes. It's at the very,
Okay.
and it reads something like under number 1, discussion of zoning code updates. And the first bullet point talks about grandfathering in, what it appears to be talking about is grandfathering in something that doesn't meet zoning code. And then it goes on to say something about, it goes on to say, the grandfathered in until such time as new changes would be requested by the owners. At that time, the building would need to be brought up to code. Now that sounds like we're switching between like building code and zoning code. And maybe I'm mistaken to think that those are 2 different things.
It is correct that there are 2 different things. Zoning and building code are. The spirit of that whole thing is that if you've got a building now and you're using it, okay, even if it doesn't meet the zoning code. But if you're going to change it, then you have to bring it up to whatever would be the requirements for the time. Now,
For the zoning code, not the building.
the
code?
zoning, not the bill.
Okay.
Well, so what would happen is, in order to get a building permit, then Tim would have to be sure that they're going to bring it up to building code. But it would
Okay.
also have to meet our zoning code as well, if you're asking for a change.
So-
So it should be phrased differently then.
That might need some clarification. now.
Yes.
There.
I can
Okay,
fix that.
Okay,
all right,
thanks.
very good.
I think that I hung out on that for a long time when we were first talking, when you called all of us and we're just like reading through it. Was that the thing that got me hung up? I think I remember being,
Yep, I think that's right. Well, yours also was about setbacks. The idea being we don't want to have, or they, whoever's setting up zoning, doesn't want to have like a tooth missing, something gone, a building and set way back when all the rest are at the front. So they want to keep it similar road frontage. I think she used the term streetscape, but I'm not certain of that.
that
So
was
that nothing looks irregular.
among my comments, but that's a separate discussion, the setbacks.
Oh,
Like what you were talking about with the downtown buildings, like commercial buildings, and then having one that's way set back. But that's something, the other, it doesn't matter. It's okay.
okay.
Yes,
Good.
from the recording, Charles, you had made a lot of comments about the grandfathering issue and just wanted to make sure it was very clear. So I'll go back and make sure that that makes more sense.
Okay. That sounds good. So then let's table the minutes until that could be repaired. And then we can approve them at the next time we have a meeting. Or disapprove them again, whatever. Yep. Good.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I sort of was going down West Main like a couple weeks ago, like maybe no, over a month ago now. And I was thinking about that in terms of the new zoning code and how they would build on that vacant lot. And then there's a guy I talked to, he's like the son of the old track coach from St. Lawrence, Howard, you know what I'm talking about? Maybe not. He lives on that corner property across from the Cascade, across from Debbie Gilson's office. There are three, yeah. And he was telling me about like one of these companies had actually come and talked to them about buying those properties and making something else of them besides homes.
Oh,
Yeah. And I don't remember what hung them up, but they really went and built on the other end of town, and it was that drugstore that we got. But there had been about it being at that intersection, and from an owner standpoint, so this is the owner speaking to. Yeah, they were trying to get this and the property over here and the property over here, and he told me the name of the other neighbor. I can't remember. One's Curtis's, and then it's Curtis, Howard, and I can't remember the other neighbor. And the way that that's worded with the streetscape would not have prevented them previously, and so we just have to
oh,
how that's handled, especially given that discussion that Mr. Howard and I had. Can't even think of his first name. So I don't know his father.
Mike Howard. Mike Howard.
Mike Howard's the father. I don't know Mike's son's name. What's Mike's son's name?
Colin, maybe?
Maybe
He's got two sons, Colin and I can't think of the other one.
Beard in the neck. One with the beard and the neck tattoo.
Yep. So hopefully the code is written to prevent that. They want that region to look like residential kind of houses that have been changed over into businesses and uses and things that are friendly looking. I think that's their idea. Okay, so now I think our next item is to speak to the proposal at 20. Isn't this curious? Both houses are 28 Goodrich and 28 Gouverneur Street. That's just too weird. So Brent Bartley is here to represent that. I think it's written by your son, actually. He's doing this too. Yep. But
That's right.
you're bringing him along, and it's
Brand-
Pitbull. Are you Pitbull or something company?
Bulldog.
Oh, close enough.
Bulldog commercial.
Good.
Yeah, the property is owned by my son, and it's in the C2 district. and we're looking to put up 12 like mini storage units. But Tim denied the application because it's not specifically set out in the code that something like this is allowed in the C2 zoning area. So that's what we're here for.
Yep. And so, yeah, and this is the new code. We changed the names of the different areas. It's now called Neighborhood Mixed Use, NMU, which is what Charles was talking about. All that's along this whole section is neighborhood mixed use, which is activities that come and go, professionals or whatever, and whatever suits the people's needs. And so in that, they've laid out where the different sorts of uses could be found in which areas. I'd put this out to other people to ask questions of you to know what we might do to make things work out. I mean, our purpose is to help the village, people who own property in the village, to get things that suit their needs, and we'd like that to work for you, for everybody, if we can. So my question, I guess I'll start to show. My question is, what sort of appearance would these have? If they look like the ones out on, let's say, the Bobcat shop on the way out of town, Potsdam, lots of little aluminum doors, etc.
Right. We're looking at just like a single set of storage units. They'd be 10 feet wide, 10 by 10. And so there would just be 12 doors down along the right-hand side of the property facing towards Governor, towards Stewart's. We're right next door to the Stewart shop on Governor Street. So we're proposing that the structure be built on the right-hand side of the property. And it would just be 10 feet wide and about 100 feet long, and then 2 across the back side of the property.
Turn the corner.
Right.
So Brent,
That still leaves ample room for parking for the tenants that are in the apartments there, and also for snow removal. You had a question, Charles?
what you had come to us for permission with something regarding that property years ago, and I can't remember what that discussion.
Right, it was in the R1 zoning area, and Brandon wanted to convert the garage, 3-bay garage, into apartments. And so what we requested at that point in time was that the line that we were right on the border of the R1 and C2 district. So the board granted the variance, I guess, to move the line so that it could be in the C2 district and allow for the 3-bedroom apartment to be built.
That was the house that was a single family home. It couldn't be made into apartments, but it was likely to become the lacrosse house or the hockey house or some other sort of sports oriented house, which would be far worse than the two apartment units that were put in there. So by changing its designation, the person who could sell it, who owned it, could sell it to somebody who could use it for something other than a problem type thing. So they really did save. So yeah, that made a big difference there. Yeah, that's a good point. Any other sort of?
So is there anything about how much stuff you're allowed to have on one lot, and does that lot allow?
So yeah, that's a good question too. The lot is quite large. It's like 190 feet back, I think, according to somewhere in that range. We have it in our stuff here. And quite wide. And it's a lot of hot top, goes way back as well. If I read it right, I went by there this afternoon to see. It's pretty icy, but under it, I think it's hot top that goes quite far in.
We're proposing that this structure wouldn't start until you're beyond the other buildings or the other building on the lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you drive in to the end of the apartments that are there, the storage units wouldn't start until that point and extend down the rest of the length of the property, but on the right-hand side, opposite side of where the apartments are.
Like way behind the Stewarts, way out, like next to the government apartment units back there.
There would be 2 units that back onto Law Lane, the buildings on Law Lane, and the others would be bordering Mike Pinkerton's property.
Mhm.
And if you, I don't know if you recall, but one of the conditions of allowing the variance to move the C2 borderline was Mike requested that Brandon put a fence up, and we did that. So really, all Mike will see from his property will be the roof above, like the fence is like 6 feet high. So it'll be 2 feet above that and then the roof. So that's what he would see.
And is this already discussed with him?
No, I hadn't discussed it with him. I thought I'd find out, whether or not it can be allowed and then approach him and see what he thinks of it.
I've taken a couple looks at it and it's clean. I mean, you guys do a nice job with everything you do, for what it's worth.
Thank you.
So I have a little different angle on this, and I think it's because of how storage units appear. Now, and Charles asked it, and this is what got me started thinking about it. He says, what can you have on your property? And the answer is you can have accessory buildings. You can have a garage, you can have a tool shed, you could have, I don't know, some other sort of thing that commonly you would find around houses. So there comes the word garage. Now, what if the building didn't look like storage units, but look like garage units? Now, what I'm saying is a garage door is what, 8 feet wide?
Right.
If you have a couple of garage doors and you have some man doors or people doors, that dates me as how long I've been talking about building doors, people doors that would go into some storage area. If it looks like garage space, cars could go in through doors like that, then the board would have to say, okay, if you want a garage on the property, that's a permitted thing, especially if you have room. Now, what you park inside may not have to be a vehicle with wheels, or maybe it could be, but that way it would look like and belong to the neighborhood and not be just concrete block and aluminum doors and flat roof and something that is why they want it in the TBL, which is light industrial. I don't even know my code yet, what these are called.
Well,
Business or whatever.
Our plan is to have metal siding like you see out at LaBerge and Curtis, the metal siding on the outside as well as on the inside, and then an 8-foot garage door in the front on each of the units.
So it would really look like a sloped roof building. You'd have slant roof, you'd have normal garage doors, not these, it's like security door. I don't know what you'd call them, but
no,
you would have
garage doors that roll up. Yeah.
And so then there's a little bit in the code about how much building surface can cover a lot.
Okay.
And how much impervious surface, but I don't know that that applies in the neighborhood mixed use.
The edges of the lot.
Say it again, I broke you up.
And then also setbacks from the edges of the lot, right, Barry?
Yep. And they're like 10 feet on one side, 15 on another. But it's a wide lot too.
Right.
What's the width of the lot?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Hold on. I can get it here. I don't think I'm sharing this, but so if it's 100 190, it's 230 feet deep. The proposed, facility would be, well, you have it at about 100 feet long. But the width is, yeah, you didn't mark the width on this, sorry. All right, well, it's gonna be sufficient here. Yep, I don't see it. But that can be yet to be determined. Uh-oh, where am I? I'll find you back. I'll get back to you.
Well, I know back behind those properties, it's like a field and really beautiful, and then back other ones, it's kind of like the parking lot of Law Lane or the backside of Law Lane, and I guess it'd be worth considering that when we're looking at it. I don't know what it looks like back there. I've never gone in Brent's backyard, but it's worth at least. I mean, if we're not talking about like main thing, putting a couple garages and outbuildings on a property and storage, I couldn't think of something more lightly used. I've never even seen a client at the LeBurging Curtis storage units, and I go to LeBurging Curtis all the time, or out on Route 11. So, I mean, putting a couple garages up doesn't sound like we're gonna have a huge discussion here. We just want to make sure we get the setbacks right, get the lot coverage right. I think we're good. Maybe like something that belongs on the property as opposed to something commercial industrial.
Is that,
I just have a question. Where would you access it from? Would it still be coming off of Governor Street, or is there a road right there off of like where the gas station is?
No, it would be the driveway at 28. Governor.
Okay.
good question. Good.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Charles just said and say I don't see too many issues with this, particularly given the size of the property itself and the possibility that it could be made to sort of blend in. The itself can be made to sort of blend in with the rest with what already exists. So I would say, yeah, let's move forward.
Okay. Okay, so then the
Pending Mr. Pinkerton, I guess.
Right.
You know, let's give Mr. Pinkerton something to think about.
okay, and so I guess it really comes down to aesthetics, Brent. If you can make it look garagey and building like and not too commercial like, which seems there's no direction here. I'm sorry to say it this way, but I think you're getting the gist of it. Is that if it can look like it belonged, then the board is happy that you're using your land to your benefit.
Okay.
What language that we have in the new code about having stuff look like it belongs there? Isn't there something for like not building commercial looking structures into neighborhood mixed use neighborhoods?
That is right. It's in the sort of like this, there's like intro pages, what we're trying to do here, the spirit of it, when you read about the different sections. I'm not fast at finding those anymore now that it's all new, but and it will come up here quite quickly.
Barry, I read it cover to cover when I was in quarantine. What do you want to know? I can tell you.
Thank heavens for quarantine. So I think it's just that what we consider to be accessory uses and the spirit. Okay, no, that's not here, but there is a description of what they were trying to achieve, and really that goes from the what do they call it? The communities plan. We had to put together a comprehensive plan, and from the comprehensive plan is what grew the zoning code. And so it was the people on that first committee who said, oh, this is what we want for various things here. So for neighborhood mixed use. Okay.
Barry,
Yes.
it's actually general mixed use. If you're gonna go by the new
Oh, it's
zoning.
general. Oh, even better. Okay.
And
I read it as the light
the
green.
new
but
code
anyway.
is not in effect yet until we get a letter from Secretary of State.
Jerry's interpretation is we would apply this. In fact, he sent me letters that sent me dates, but regardless,
I'm just saying, I mean,
yeah,
eventually
we'd have the same.
it's gonna get passed eventually, but
Yep.
technically, we don't have an effective date yet.
I
It's
see.
been adopted. I mean, you can discuss it, but I don't know if we can. And Brent's not gonna do this to the spring anyway, so.
Right. Yeah.
And that district where it is allowed is a technology
Business and light industrial. Yeah. So, and which is pretty far out.
It's actually,
on the outskirts.
ironically, it
Mhm.
backs right up to, looking at the map, backs right up to general mixed use.
Or the one that's on the other side of the street
Yeah,
that we're taking the
actually in Brent's district, technology and business and light industrial backs right up to general mixed use. Like if you go to the map, you'll see it. And you can access, you're looking at the map right now.
Yeah.
You can see how, you can see Law Lane in there and Brent's property. And
But
actually,
that's the
oh,
bright
maybe
red.
you're right. It
That's-
is neighborhood mixed use.
Yeah. Yep. I think
This
it
is like right, it's right on the edge.
Yep. That's on the green.
Oh, wait a
It's in
minute.
the light
Isn't-
green.
Isn't Stewart's?
No, they're still in neighborhood mixed use. They could be
Oh.
in the pink one too. They could be in general. But I do think that it's a long way to the technology and business. That is up around Law Lane, but there's the big field in between.
Yeah.
But that's not so serious. Yep. There's very little opportunity for storage units in the village, according to this, but okay. Yep. So in general mixed use, all of your requirements are well met. As I was looking at the schedule here and the things that you need for space, even neighborhood mixed use. Maximum impervious surface is 40%. You're not going to be in the 40% range, so you'll be okay on that.
Mhm.
Minimum lot width is 75. You're well beyond that for this, and so the
Yeah, they got
only
80.
side. Go ahead.
I said they have 83 for frontage.
Okay. So that makes it that way, and 10 feet minimum on one side, 20 feet minimum total on both sides of setback. So 25 feet total of setback from your two outermost borders. And so then if I read the board right here, what they'd rather do is to have you do a accessory building that meets the aesthetic value of it, and then it would be strictly a building permit thing. And of course, the building code enforcement officer is always invited to bring the planning board into it at any time. And so that's okay too. But I think if this is okay, that's what we'll do. And the board is okay with that. Karen, Charles, yep, Jess, good. Okay, so
All right.
we've given you a resounding maybe, but I think it'll work. If you do
Okay.
it that
One
way.
thing, one thing to keep in mind, Brent informed me that they were going to, some of the, correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, but you said some of the storage units were gonna be used by the tenants and yourself, and others would be rented.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking that I'll use probably 2 of them myself and and then 3 to 4 for the tenants, and then the balance of them would be for public use. So it's not going to be like there's a lot of traffic in and out of there as a result of it.
Mhm.
And you're gonna provide parking for those storage units as well.
Yes.
Well, there is paved access to them now. Yes. Or where they would be, there's paved access.
There will be. It's not completely paved, but it will be when we do the building.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
All right.
So now the next item on the agenda is any other business to legally come before the board. Do we, do we have any?
Did we cover the impervious surfaces thing or no?
So he's maximum of 40% of the surface,
Okay, okay.
and there's, well, now that's driveway two.
Right.
And parking.
That's driveway two.
Not increasing the amount of pavement. When I heard somebody say, when I started you or Brent say that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot.
And don't get me wrong, I think I could probably use a storage unit on Governor Street. That would be fabulous. If I could just put all my stuff over there, that would be great.
I'll call you in the spring.
Yeah. Yep. So Tim, yeah, the impervious surface, that is worth being aware of. That's something to be sure that we get that impervious surface correct for parking lot and building. And then as long as that meets
it
it,
is a
we'll be
huge
good.
lot, so.
Yeah, we should make it
Yeah.
just fine. Okay. So anybody else know of anything that we should do, or Tim, anything else is coming up that we ought to know about? No.
Coming up. Nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. All right, good.
There is a lot of activity in all sorts of sectors of my world, but
I bet.
I don't think there's anything that's going to be. There
Important
might be
for us, huh?
something come. There is one item off of Buck Street. The there's a big parcel down there across from Stewart's. You know that vacant
Buck Street?
parcel? Not Stewart's, I mean Kraft.
Craft, okay, yes, all right, yep.
The owners of that property want to build some apartments there. So that is, I haven't gotten a building permit application, but that will probably come your way, as probably need some site plan approval. And
Yeah. Apartments, yeah, if it's more than 2 units, yep, it would need site plan. That's
think he was
right.
thinking
What's the zone? Do you know right offhand?
by the time he plans to do it, it'll probably be in the new zoning.
Okay.
So it is, I think the new zoning will be in their favor. Let me get back to my zoning. Here we go.
I believe super unrestricted as it is right now. I think it's like industrial.
Yeah, it's it's M1.
Oh,
But when the new zoning comes around, that is going to be a general mixed use. And so it will be allowed.
yep. Well, that's not a bad spot. It's wet there, very wet.
Yeah.
But
So
if they know about it, they can take care of it. So that's better for apartments than for a house too, because then you can have better control over site plan. Yep, that'll
Yeah.
be important for a wet place. Okay, well, good. So people are getting ready to build in the spring. We have some hope that there's some economy going that's going to happen when the snow goes.
oh yeah, there's all sorts of activity.
Good, good. That's what we want to know. I want to see some activity. Okay,
Yeah,
then. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn, and when we have another meeting, I'll do the same. I don't know, haphazard way of finding out a time, and putting it together. But it's not easy to get 5 busy people together at any one time. Even we don't have to be there in person.
Apologize for my tardiness. I apologize. Thank you for the text message reminder.
Yep, I apologize for not texting you 5 minutes earlier. That would have been smarter. I'll learn.
I got
After a
one-
while, we work together so long we know what each other is like. Yes. Yep, good. Okay, then. I assume we had a motion to this.
I'll do it. Motion
Okay,
to adjourn.
and Charles raised his hand for a second, so, okay,
Thanks,
we are
everyone.
adjourned until the next time. Thank you, Brent.
All right,
Sorry, I had
good
to
night.
sit through the whole
Have a
thing.
good night.
Yeah, yep, bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Like.